Thank you for having me. I think one of the things that I've learned a lot is that I've enjoyed the journey, and I want to share with you this. I'm going to tear up. I want to share with you the journey that I think I've waited my whole life to take. The journey started in California, and it started in an unusual way. As a teenager, I was able to buy a house in California on the beach, which is a little unusual. And it wasn't a regular house. It was a house that needed a lot of love. And I had no skill to build a house. And I also was doing it with free and found things I had found from the dump. And we had this terrific trash pick section, and I wanted to find things that were really unusual. The thing that was more unusual as I took the house apart is that I realized it was made with salvage things in the 1920s to begin with. So it was a lot of salvage on top of salvage. And I think the reason that I needed to create a home for myself that young is I'd gone through a really tough time as a kid, and I was homeless for a long time. And I think through that journey, my mother had died, and through that, you know, we lost the heart of our family. And I think somehow creating a home to help myself was the first step in a long journey that I want to share with you. I'm not sure why I'm tearing up. I'm so sorry. So I've created this space that was really unusual through free and found things, and I started to get really inspired that maybe I could do more. And I started to look beyond the house into my neighborhood, and I got to know people. And I started to see what in that neighborhood needed to be done, and created a community garden. And through that garden, a man came to me who wanted to grow, he had a plot in our garden, and he wanted to grow cold food. And it was food he could eat because he was homeless. And another neighbor came to me and said, his name was Eddie, you have to figure out a way to help Eddie because I'm going to retire and I've always helped Eddie. So it's your turn. And what I got a chance to learn through Eddie was how to help somebody with schizophrenia find a way to live in one of the most expensive places in America. And I had no skill to do that, and Eddie trusted that I would stand beside him while he took that journey. And one of the things I would do every day with Eddie is walk the beach, and I started to create this art that would wash up every day. And it was this found stuff. and Eddie and I would fish, and we'd grow food together, and he helped me to be a stronger person. And through that process, I learned that I could create a home for myself, I could create a home for others, I could create art, and I could stand beside someone as they took a journey to find a home themselves. And I kind of got recruited through my job. My real job was producing accessories and shoes. And I got recruited to go to Victoria's Secret to design lingerie. And I did that for about 20 years. And through that process, I started to create art focused around women with cancer, and really spent time creating a studio where together we could follow that journey of cancer and what happens and where you hold it in your body and what it means. And it kind of gave this expression, a way to talk about cancer and change and life change. You know, and I got to build a house there for myself. So I was living in New Hampshire. And it was a really interesting journey for me to take. And then my life had a funny change. My brother died, and I wanted to go home to California. And of course, I went home to California and rebuilt that beach house again. And then through that process realized that maybe even though I was kind of at the top of the corporate ladder where I'd climbed to, it wasn't feeling very lifeful. And it wasn't feeling like a place that was going to be my end, and that I needed to find something that would be more challenging. And what I started to do was look for other things. And of course, it came to me through television. I'm watching TV one night, and I'm watching an HBO documentary, Lolly's Kin, The Legacy of Cotton. Just randomly turned on the TV, and I was watching a show, and the show changed my life. It made me realize that I could make a difference with just what I had. And I decided to leave my job, move to Alabama, and start to serve others in a different way. And of course, the first thing I did, buy a house that no one else would ever consider fixing up. And I made it into a place that could be a sanctuary for me while I helped others. It was an 1820s antebellum, and the chimneys had fallen off the building, and animals had lived in it 20 years, and it was clearly something nobody else wanted. And really focused on creating that nest. And then through that, started to then again look into the community. What was needed? What could we do together? What did we have that was a strength? And the thing that we had a lot of was thrift store stuff. People were throwing stuff away. We could gather things together. So we started a small thrift store in our town. We started to create retail opportunities for kids to learn how to sell things. And then we had a lot of clothes that you couldn't sell. They were ripped or torn or stained. We started to cut those into cotton rags, and we created a rags business. We could sell big 60-pound tubs of cotton rags to scientific labs. So we had a little thrift store. We had a little rags business. We just started to create things that we knew that we had. We had daycare. Everybody knew how to care for others. So we started a state-licensed daycare. Then we kind of got this idea that maybe there we go. We needed more help. We invited a bunch of young designers to come give us a hand. This is Project M, led by John Bielenberg. And he started to bring large groups of designers down to help us. We started to ask universities to help us. MICA, Maryland Institute College of Art, was one that signed on early, University of Alabama. And then we started getting tons of volunteers. This is a group of karate instructors, and they come every year. They've come for 9 years to help us. And they help us do things we never thought would be possible. And they help in the community with thousands of people coming together each year. We can try and start to create change in a place where we wouldn't normally have change. And social change happens kind of as an optimistic view. As you try and navigate that landscape, you can kind of think of things you can do together. So the next thing we started to think about was food. The young graphic designers started to talk about not what wasn't working. They started to talk about what they were passionate about. Roseanne, one of the girls, was like, I love pie. And of course, who doesn't like pie? We all started to talk about pie and what could happen with pie. And we started a little pop-up pie shop. We had $600, and a couple of the designers, two from New York, Jeff and Archie, decided to come down and spend a couple weeks. And then another one joined on, and a few more joined on. And eventually, we had a little pop-up pie shop. We could bake 1 pie a day, and we could have a pot of coffee every day. And the line started out the door. People wanted pie. People wanted coffee. It was kind of a nice gathering place. And then we decided, heck, we've got a lot of abandoned buildings downtown. About 75% of the downtown is vacant or abandoned. And of course, we have no capital. It doesn't take a lot to buy a building that looks like this, just so you know. The doors had fallen off, the ceilings had collapsed, the floors had collapsed. It was pretty sad. And of course, we don't have any money. So what we're going to do is rehab it all with free or found materials, with what we can find, and with unskilled labor. We've really got graphic designers working with us, and none of them had ever touched a power tool. My job was to go salvage stuff and get it there by the end of the night. So we were working after work from 5 to 10 p.m. every night to build out the space. And when we finished the space, we built a beautiful place called Pylab, and it was a place where the community could come together. And in this space, we were the top 3 in the nation for best restaurant design against the Guggenheim Cafe. We did not win, but it's a pretty big deal. And everything in here was free or found. We built these movable walls out of kind of sharecropper shacks I had taken down and salvaged the wood. And the stainless steel stuff came from an abandoned school. And the refrigerator we got from an old McDonald's store yard of defunct appliances. It's kind of crazy. And so I'll just show you a couple shots of the Pylab. But it was really a place where everybody could come together. And great music can happen, and we got T-shirts. We started making other products that we had locally. We had a lot of pecans. The kids were picking up 400 or 500 pounds of pecans each weekend, organically grown, sustainably harvested. We had local honey. Whole Foods picked up our line, and our little line of pecans became really successful. We started playing with road signs. Got a lot of road signs in rural Alabama. Made basketball hoops. We started doing fence pickets. Facebook contacted me and wanted to know if we could design the signage for a new building of theirs in Menlo Park, California, which is a big deal from Alabama. We have a bunch of ladies who had worked in sewing shops that had closed down. We got some Italian yarns, and we started making necklaces. And we've got an order for 30,000 necklaces. And now we have 12 ladies busily making necklaces. And this is very common. This is what a typical building looks like for us. By the time we get it, the ceilings have collapsed, the floors have collapsed. There's absolutely no way to fix it, so we all get together and fix them. And they end up looking pretty spectacular in the end. We have a ton of things like bamboo. Everybody's going to complain about it. Nobody knows what to do with it. So we decided we would work. This is the building that we built the bamboo bike shop in. Of course, there's no back to the building. And we started working with the Bamboo Bike Studio in Brooklyn, and they helped us to understand how we could use carbon fiber and our bamboo. They were buying bamboo in from Guatemala. We started becoming their supplier of bamboo, and we could build these bikes. We could also build a little kit. If you were in another country, we could ship you a kit. You can build your own bike. So we shipped to 11 countries. And then this is an industrial designer from the University of Kansas. He helped us understand how to build a better bike. That we just launched into Kickstarter. These are the sketches that we used to make the hex tubes on the bike. This is our better, more attractive bike that we just launched on Kickstarter called the Semester. And now we're designing, more designers came down, and we're trying to figure out how to build kind of a less expensive bike that would be available for the masses. We call it Catfish Jones. It's kind of a faster, better bike. And through this, what we've realized is the place matters, the people matter, and as you navigate that landscape to create change, as all of us come together to do that, the thing that motivated me was watching television at home one night, and it's taken me on a journey that I think I've always meant to do, and I've meant to, who knew, live in Alabama, and build houses and create change. And I wanted to share that. Thank you.